Hi everyone. In this part we're going to make a couple of little modifications to the skeleton. So obviously at the moment what we've got is our arms and legs, and we've got this spine here. Just to add a little bit more control over the arm, the way that the arms will be controlled and move. What I want to do is insert a couple of joints. I'm going to place a little collarbone joint just in here. And what that's going to do is help isolate any movement in the shoulder from the spine and vice versa. And that way I can kind of more freely move the arm around to get a nice position for it without this direct connection between the shoulder and the spine kind of causing issues. And I'm also going to add a little joint here down the middle of the forearm so that I can add a bit more control over the way that the arm twists when the wrist is rotated. Sometimes, especially with very thin characters, you can actually get a quite a drastic pinching occurring within the wrist or the forearm. So what we're going to do is add in a joint just there. So both are pretty basic operations. What it will mean though is what I'm going to do is actually re-mirror the entire arm over once I've added those additional joints. And so the right arm that we've got here is not going to be used anymore. We're going to get rid of that soon. Okay, so let's start off in the front viewport, just here. And what I'm going to do is create a new joint sort of just in here, just inside the can, to act as a collarbone. So I don't have anything selected. I'm going to come over to my joint tool, create joints. You'll find that under skeleton, create joints just here. I'm not using any specific settings or anything like that. I'm just using the default settings as they are. And what I'm going to do is just click a joint sort of roughly about here. Okay, and I'm sort of doing it roughly in line between the spine and the shoulder. Okay. So that's going to be our shoulder joint. So I'm going to go to the channel box, and I'm just going to rename this. And let's take a look at the naming conventions for our joints. Okay, so you can see here what I'm doing is putting left. So this is going to be collarbone or collar left joint. So let's put that in. Collar left joint. Depending on sort of what you're doing, sometimes putting either left or right before the name can help. Especially if things are disconnected, it'll keep all the lefts in one order and then all the rights, rather than it saying left, right, left, right, left, right. But for this, it's going to be fine. So left joint, collar left joint, and we can mirror that across. Technically, I think what I might do is sort of mirror the collar and the entire arm once we've made these modifications. Okay, now the next one is a little bit trickier. I'm going to switch off the actually for this one I think what I'm going to do is actually jump across to the perspective view. We'll see if we can do it in here. So what we're going to be doing is inserting a joint roughly halfway down the forearm between the elbow and the wrist. It doesn't have to be exactly in the middle, but you know, it can be approximately in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to deselect everything. We're going to come up to the skeleton menu, and we're going to select insert joints just there. So we turn that on, and what we do is we click and drag on the elbow. Actually, let me just undo that. Yeah. So we click and drag on the elbow. And what I'm doing is I'm moving this down. I can't push up and down on this. It's going to align itself between the elbow and the wrist. What I'm doing though is looking over in the channel box over here at the number. Okay. So I can kind of drop that anywhere in there. It's going to be roughly about 1.3, something like that. Okay. Now, if you were needing to insert if you were needing to insert a joint on this side, but you already had like a bunch of other connectors and stuff set up, and you couldn't just delete the whole arm and mirror it. What you would do is click and drag on that elbow and try and get it to the same number. Okay, so you know that it's basically in the same spot. We're not going to do that though, because we're going to delete this arm and then just mirror this whole thing over, and that way it's going to be the same. Okay, so once we've got that joint inserted, I'm going to turn the tool off and then rename that joint. So this one is going to be called, let's call this forearm left joint. Like that, forearm left joint. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to reconnect. Well, we're going to connect the shoulder to the collarbone, just here, or the collar joint. All right, then we're going to get rid of this arm, mirror this one across, and then connect these back into the spine. So what we do is we select the shoulder joint, left shoulder joint, shift select the left collar joint, and we press P, or we can go to Edit Parent. So they're now connected. Okay. And we don't really need to worry about the orientation of this joint. Next thing I'm going to do is select the right shoulder joint, and I'm going to delete that entirely. I don't need it. Now what we're going to do is select the left collar, and we're going to come up to Skeleton, Mirror Joints, Options, and we're going to double check that we've got the same settings as last time. So we're going to mirror along the x-axis, so that's YZ mirror across. We're going to mirror the behavior, and we're going to replace anything that says LFT with RGT. So we hit mirror, like that. So now I've got the same joint setup. You can see there. Same joint setup, but we now have those two new joints inserted. Now what I can do is select the right shoulder, shift select the left shoulder, or these are collars actually, and then shift select the body joint here in the middle, and then go to Edit Parent, and that'll connect those in. Okay, so I'm going to leave this video here. We'll make this one a short one. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're actually going to now use those new joints and set up a series of controls, including IK, running from this joint to the new forearm joint. We're then going to be adding a control handle in for the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist, and connecting all of those together. So I will see you in the next video.